All right, testing. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm SJ Yassine. I'm a design coordinator with our HDR design team. Welcome to the Mestizo-Curtis Park Pool Renovation Community Meeting. You're going to hear from the project team who is working on the new pool and pool house pool design to keep the oldest community pool in Denver in use for years to come. The team will provide an update on where we're at within the project timeline, and this is your opportunity for you to see how the proposed design has progressed based on the community input, and we're going to provide an update on the project schedule. There we go. All right. At the corner of the slides, you're going to see a QR code. If you scan that, that will take you directly to our project webpage where you can read more about the project and the updates that are going on there. And with that said, I'll pass it off to Jessica with the Community Language Cooperative.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Jessica, and I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. We're here to help create a language justice space, which means we want everyone to be able to participate and engage in the language of their heart or the one they feel most comfortable with. And we will use simultaneous interpretation today to make this possible. Once I finish saying this in Spanish, we will turn on the interpretation feature, and you should see a globe icon labeled interpretation like the one on the screen at the bottom of your screen. If you're not fully bilingual, please select your preferred language. If you're bilingual, feel free to listen in either language. After selecting your language, you can click Mute Original Audio so you don't hear both languages at once. Hola, mi nombre es Jessica, seré el intérprete para el día de hoy. Estoy aquí con Community Language Cooperative. Estamos aquí para crear un espacio de justicia lingüística, lo que significa que queremos que todos puedan participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón o en el idioma en el que se sientan más cómodos. Usaremos la interpretación simultánea para lograr esto. Una vez que termine de decir esto en español, activaremos la interpretación y verá un icono de globo como el que está en la pantalla que dice interpretación en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Si no es completamente bilingüe, le pedimos que seleccione su idioma preferido. Si es bilingüe, puede escuchar en cualquiera de los dos idiomas. Al seleccionar su idioma, puede hacer clic en silenciar el audio original para que no escuche ambos idiomas a la misma vez.
Okay. Interpretation is on.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. All right, we have about an hour today and we have so much we want to share with you. We'll go briefly over the background of the project and what we heard based on our community engagement sessions. And then we'll focus in on how that engagement shaped the proposed design. And we're also going to hear today from the Denver Arts and Venues about the city's commitment to honoring the existing Eyes on the Park mural as part of the project. All right. Here with you today, we have our project team, including representatives from the Department of Transportation, Terry Gold, our senior project manager. We also have a representative from Denver Parks and Recreation, Laura, who is a part of the community relations, and Denver Arts and Venues, Meg Purcell. We also have our HDR design team, including myself. I'm a design coordinator, along with Jericho Enriquez, the project manager, and James Bram, the design principal. All right. Before we get into the presentation, there are some meeting guidelines just to keep things running smoothly. For Spanish, select the World Globe Interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. During the presentation, you may drop your comment or question into the chat window along with your name. Our facilitators will circle back around with you during the open discussion section. I'd like to note that if we receive similar questions in the chat window, we will provide a comprehensive response that addresses them all together. We can always circle back to a visual or a slide when we open the floor up to our Q&A section. And during that Q&A session, Raise your hand if you have a comment or question, and our facilitators will call upon you. And this meeting will be recorded. All right, some overview and background on our project. The Mestizo-Curtis pool is being rebuilt with the help of a $6 million grant from the Rise Denver bond package. The project is intended to increase accessibility and safety and to provide a high quality aquatic facility for this community. The project's budget is about $14.5 million, and it's funded also in part by the DPR Legacy Funds and the DPR Capital Funds. Over the course of the project, we have had a series of community engagement sessions. Thank you so much to everyone who participated and shared their hopes and voiced their concerns during our community engagement meetings and surveys. All of this feedback has helped so much shape the proposed design to ensure that the Mestizo-Curtis Park Pool remains a vital community asset. We're going to run through some of the highlights of these sessions. In total, for the first virtual survey and community meeting, we had 682 engagements and received 336 open response comments. That's really good. We heard from a majority the desire for this project to have a balance of lap and leisure pool. The ultimate selection was a 25-meter competitive lap pool and separate leisure pool with more features. For our second community engagement virtual survey, that was held in the late November, we had about 134 total submissions and 38 comments. We heard the slide would be the major pool feature, with the diving board as a very close second. We also heard that the elevated interactive elements and underwater seating were the majority favorites among a series of the minor pool feature options. And the community overwhelmingly selected a neighborhood color scheme that is based on the existing Eyes on the Park mural done by activist and muralist Emmanuel Martinez. We heard the community's desire for a modern style pool house that focuses on function with clean lines and sturdy materials. We would like to note that the final design is shaped by the community survey results in conjunction with the landmark preservation design review process. The design team is excited to honor a tradition of Chicano art at the park. Featured here are two of the previous murals that Emmanuel Martinez has done on the existing bathhouse at Mestizo-Curtis. And we would like to honor that tradition going forward. You'll see the spirit of these murals infused into the proposed design, and we'll hear from Denver Arts and Venues about how we're working with Emmanuel going forward. And with that, I'll pass it off to James Brom, our design principal on this project.
Thank you, SJ. Hello, good evening, everybody. We're happy to be here with you this evening and share a lot of the hard work and feedback that we've been receiving and put that into a lot of love and drawings. This is a site plan that we're looking at. So the pool location remains at the same site, 32nd and Champa. But you'll notice a very big difference, something that we think is going to make this project a big success. And that essentially is the diagram has flipped and mirrored. So now the building and the bathhouse has pushed forward to 32nd, and the pools have pushed downward to the south, more towards the park. You know, what makes that really a nice move, a nice success, right now the pools look right out onto the street, onto the traffic. This starts to create a zone that celebrates the pool area and that pool deck. So Eyes on the Park now really celebrates the views onto the park. And now what is also happening as the building pushes forward towards the street, the entrance will be off 32nd, where we'll have a welcome plaza that we'll show you some renderings of. As SJ had mentioned, going back to the survey and listening to the response from the community, we were pleased to be able to get your top two choices into the project. So being able to get not only a terrific play slide into the project that you'll see this evening, but also the diving boards into the project. And right now, those are tracking to be part of the design, and we'll be able to show you those as well. Here's an image of that play slide, and the views that you will see, you will be up in the treetops when you're at the top of this deck. It will be essentially, I think it is 17 feet tall, 17, 18 feet tall. So any kid would love that. Probably the adults would even love that. But when you get up those stairs, you're going to have a view of the city, and it's like going to be like being in a treehouse. So we're pleased that that is part of the project. Another survey question, that we heard were, how do we incorporate your minor features? Here again, we're pleased to say that the top 5 minor features that were voted on as part of the survey by the community right now are in the project and expect to be part of the design, including the top choice of the elevated interactive elements. So what is an elevated interactive element? That was our top choice. And you'll see on this next slide, the idea of how the children can start to engage in this idea of this aspect of play, play with climbing, play with water, and this is called a play tower. So while it has water features, stairs, steps, sprinklers, um, again, something that brings a lot of joy and life to this pool at Mestizo-Curtis, and I think a huge improvement from what was there now. This is one of our architectural renderings. So now we're on the pool deck. We can see the building in the distance. And notice that the chairs are sitting in the shade. One of the benefits of changing the design so that the building goes towards the street and the pools now go towards the park, we have wonderful shade from all those historic trees. So you can choose to be either in the sunlight on the pool deck, or grab a chair and be tucked underneath the canopy of a tree in the shade. And we're looking at the leisure pool in front of us, and then down at the other end will be the 25-meter pool. This is our architectural floor plan. And let's just point out a few things about the design that we believe are special. So you can see where it says entry with the black arrow. That's the control point where everybody from the community will enter into the building from a single point. We'll have security fencing all the way around the fence. So this is the one way in and out for control, other than obviously emergency exits. You'll even see the angles in the plaza and the angles in the building. That's part of this idea of welcoming. The idea of these welcome open arms it was important that this building say, welcome, everyone is included. This is for everyone. So you'll come in to that entrance point and you'll check in at that lifeguard station and administration area and make your way into the pool deck. If you go then to the right on the plan where you see the blue, you'll see the locker rooms, both for men, women, boys, girls, but also the family changing rooms and showers. We also have accessible, dedicated, private restroom and shower areas. Uh, so anyone that needs a little bit of extra space, size, or dimension. Another nice feature on this that we want to point out, there will be outdoor showers on that pool deck as well. And you can see those, um, oh, they're at the front wall before you walk into the locker rooms. As SJ had mentioned, we took a look at the survey and the results from modern style to contemporary to classic. And while modern style was overwhelmingly the favorite, we felt it was important as well to have a neighborhood scale. So what you're looking at is the front entrance on 32nd, and that openness that we're talking about, and even has an opening in the roof where the sunlight comes in and is beaming. The name of the pool, the Mestizo-Curtis Park pool, is shown up above on a header, on a beam up above. In fact, you'll start to see the elements that make this, again, what we would say more of a neighborhood scale. We wanted to keep this low. Right now, we're showing different earth tones in terms of the masonry. So the idea that it has a buff color, but we're also introducing browns and reds in something that we're still studying. You also see the inclusion of patterning that we've started to take a look at, and we'll show you some details of what that's all about. But most important, the idea of a welcome plaza where you can sit, relax, greet your friends, laugh, smile, and with new trees on the street. We had mentioned the acknowledgement of the previous mural and Emmanuel Martinez. And while there were different reasons, construction reasons, why we couldn't keep the original mural from 87, 83, the Eyes on the Park, we also felt it was important to honor the idea of, hey, maybe there's something we can do to acknowledge just the original mural from 71. And so the neighborhood has a rich history, both from its celebrated architecture, Victorian pieces, Italianesque. Everything has a rich patterning. We want to include that patterning in the design. And so what you're looking at here is the idea of a building that has a base of triangulated patterns, and then the idea of playing off the notion of this detailed brickwork where it starts to finger and turn around the corners. Now, because of safety reasons, there really isn't the need for glass windows. In fact, there's really no need for any windows, and it's a security issue on the front side of the building. So what we've done, the design team has introduced a series of patterns and a series of vertical patterned faux windows on the design. That helps give it some scale. It starts to acknowledge what's happening in the community with the Victorian windows that are all vertical and repetitive. So we wanted to bring that into the design and incorporate some of those details. So while this is a welcoming area, and it also starts to have the sense of arrival and even a community porch. Here's another image if we zoom in, right? And so this is the ticketing window. So on the right side, you're on the plaza coming from 32nd, and this is where you enter in. And what makes this really exciting as well is we keep that patterning. that banding, that heritage patterning, the banding, the brickwork that we see in the neighborhood. Those are called coins on the corner that you see on the left that uses that stepped pattern of brick with different colors of buff and beige and brown and red. So we start to introduce that patterning into the design. That's where you come in, either buy your entrance fee, or that's where also your exit is. But you can also start to see the opening up above that's starting to let in the sunlight. And we did that for different reasons, for security and visibility, but it also celebrates the arrival. Again, we want everyone, every man, woman, child that comes in, this should feel like Disneyland. This needs to be a happy place, and this needs to be a place for everybody to come in. And we want them to know how special it is when they walk through that gate. So here's that overview image again that we've been taking a look at, designing in the renderings. There's a sliding gate that will close off the opening. We're also going to illuminate this, but what's important to note, the gate has an opening and detail to it. So that sliding gate slides across, but you can still see into the pool. We felt it was important that you could still have visibility into the pool deck after hours. There'll be lights on the facility that glow both down towards the landscape and up towards that roof. So the building will have a soft glow in the evening. It's also important to note, this building is a civic building. Um, we have a lot of rich history in the neighborhood, and this building is more akin. This is more similar to a pavilion, um, a pavilion in the park, than it is necessarily a house or a tall commercial structure. So we wanted to have that playfulness, that welcomeness, and even that feel of like a tree canopy. And this is Emmanuel. Um, we have talked with Emmanuel. He is a wonderful, wonderful, delightful artist who has been very proud of the community and the original work. Um, and we're pleased to share this evening that Dottie, Department of Transportation, DPR, Department of Parks and Recreation, and Denver Arts and Venue have been working in collaboration with Emmanuel and have asked him to design the new mural that will go on this facility. And we couldn't be more delighted. It's a wonderful choice. It represents an important history as well. And what we're looking at on the left, this is a diagram, but that's the corner of 32nd and Champa. And that's an important corner. Now, the entrance isn't there, but anytime someone walks by or drives by that corner, they will see that mural. And while the previous mural was on the opposite side, eyes on the park and looking into the park, what makes this so special is now this is going to be out towards the community and saying hello, this community is special. Um, this location is special. And we look forward to seeing what he would design. We don't know what that design is yet. Like we said, he's working right now with the city in collaboration. Jericho, you want to share a little bit of the schedule for us
Yeah,
about next steps and what's happening?
sure. Thank you, James. Yeah, we're as mentioned earlier, we're working on our design with the Landmark group, as well as obviously with DPR and Dottie to make sure that this project opens up in the spring of 2027. So stay tuned on that. I'm sure many of you will hear the progress of where we are in the near future.
Thank you, Jericho. And until that anticipated opening date, please check out the La Alma outdoor pool. You can scan the QR code here to register to go. There will be free city minibus rides every Tuesday and Friday, and it's also free with your My Denver card. And I believe Laura is going to drop that website in the chat as well, so you can visit later if you need. And now I'll pass it off to Meg with Denver Arts and Venues.
Thank you so much, SJ. Can everybody hear me okay? Folks
Yes.
from our project team? Okay, thank you so much. All right, everyone. Well, I am one of the public art administrators with the City and County of Denver. You've heard a lot of really great information on the final design of the pool. And today I'm going to share a little bit more about our role in the de-accession of Eyes on the Park, as well as the new commission by Emmanuel Martinez. And while I'm going to be sticking to the meat of why we are here today, I want to briefly mention that Denver Public Arts lives under the umbrella of Denver Arts and Venues. And since the program was established, the city has invested more than $60 million in public art across the city, which has resulted in the installation of more than 580 artworks. And this includes Eyes in the Park. And as you may know, due to the full reconstruction of the pool and bathhouse, Eyes on the Park will be de-accessioned. As our architecture team has mentioned, the current bathhouse will be demolished toward the end of the year, and our staff have also been working very closely with Emmanuel Martinez, our partners at Parks and Rec, Transportation Infrastructure, and the architecture team on that de-accession sequence. And while we know the de-accession is a really difficult event, we will follow several recommendations after conversations with stakeholders, including former and current Curtis Park community members and the artist. First and foremost, we will be fully documenting Eyes in the Park for our Denver Public Art records. Second, we will be honoring the piece through a ceremony of the work, knowing the meaning to Mestizo-Curtis neighbors. Third, we will endeavor to create a didactic plaque of Eyes on the Park to be installed in an accessible area of the bathhouse. And critically, per our policy, we will directly commission a new mural by Emmanuel Martinez on the future bathhouse once constructed. To assist Emmanuel in the creation of this new mural, we will be organizing a community conversation to generate at least 2 community-driven goals for the new mural. So we will be hosting this in-person event at Mestizo-Curtis Park on July 22nd from 6 o'clock to 7 p.m. If you'd like to RSVP ahead of time, please do. Laura is going to post that link in the chat. Or you can also feel free to stop by if you're around that evening. We may also organize a supplemental virtual session in the weeks ahead, depending on the strengths of the goals that are identified in that in-person meeting. And please also know that you can reach out to us via email anytime. And to also stay up to date on our events, please also visit our website and the event tab.
Thank you, Meg. With that, we'll open the floor up to Q&A.
This is Terry from Dottie. I believe we had Keith state. Could you repeat the succession again? So maybe it was when the arts and venue meeting is. Maybe you could go back to that slide on the mural.
Yeah, so this is going to be dedicated mostly to identifying the goals for the new mural.
And maybe SJ, you can go back to the slide that identifies where the mural location is compared to the rest of the building for us.
Mm.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have Keith clarifying the question. So sorry, Keith, bear with us. So Meg, there is a question. Why is there not a new RFP for the artist today?
Yeah, of course, we can definitely talk about that. So per our policy during a DX session, we have the option to directly commission the original artist of the work that we're DX sessioning to maintain some of the original intent and spirit of the work. So because Emmanuel is still alive and is still actively creating work, as part of the DX session process, he will be invited to create the direct commission for the new mural.
Hopefully, Keith, that answered your question. And I'm just watching the messaging. So let us know if there's anything else we can answer for you. And I will, oh, here we go. Sue had a question. Why is only Chicano represented? There is so much more. Demographics of surveys is overwhelmingly white. Anyone want to jump in for that question answer?
I believe she might be asking about the art still.
The art still?
That is at least about the mural. Yes, that's what the question is about.
Okay. The Curtis Park community was not asked by the mural.
Sure, so we can definitely jump in to talk a little bit more about demographics. So Emmanuel Martinez is devoted to representation of all peoples in his work historically. So, you know, that is something that he's going to continue to be sensitive to during this project. And even in the community engagement session we'll hold in July, we encourage you to come back and talk about the goals that you have for this new mural.
And I will just add that history is also important to Parks and Rec. And so it is honoring culture and history. And I have nothing to do with the art decisions, but history is a piece of the puzzle in all of this.
Yes, agreed.
So the next question is, the shade structures outside of the trees were depicted in the renderings at the in-person meeting. Can you update this? Can you update us on this? So my design team could answer that. If Jericho, if you want to update on the shade structure and where we are with that design, that'd be great. Or James.
I can start with that. We are currently working with DPR on several options. So that is getting coordinated with the selected general contractor so that it aligns with DPR's budget. But I know that's very important. And I think that's one of the answer to the survey, that shading is very important to the community and to the users. So that is still in the works.
And then we are also building around that large historic tree, and we are including that now in the footprint, whereas right now it is not included. So that will assist with shade also. We have done some shade surveys along with that to see where the shade is going to hit. Let's see, when did the timeline change? We were told the opening would be in 2026. And I'm so sorry that that's miscommunicated, or that you thought that. The timeline has always been May of 2027, and that's also on our bond page. Right now, we are working and getting this into permitting, and permitting takes about 6 to 9 months. And then construction is about 14 months. So that puts us at May of 2027. So I'm sorry, that was not understood properly. Let's see. We've got another question from Scott. You stated the design has been in conjunction with landmark preservation design review process. The renderings of the building don't look like any other historic in their district. Why is DPR and HDR not adhering to our landmark community guidelines? So I don't know if HDR wants to chime in. We also have, I think maybe Crystal from Landmark may be on the call too. Does anyone from HDR want to take that?
Sure, I'll take that.
Thanks, James.
Absolutely. And we did meet with the RNO of Curtis Park and the neighborhood a week ago. And we also heard their comments about incorporating more patterning, giving it more of a feel of the tradition of that neighborhood. We've done some of those things. We haven't changed the structural design, but we have started to incorporate and change the patterning, and we appreciated those comments as well. I think the biggest takeaway was the discussion as well of, should this feel like a house in the neighborhood, or should this feel more like a civic building or a pavilion in the park, which is a little bit different. In fact, is lower in scale for the park than it would be a typical two-story home.
Hi all, Crystal Marquez, Senior City Planner with Landmark Preservation. I just wanted to jump in and let you know that they are going through the landmark design review process. It is going through the phase 1 and phase 2 process with Landmark Preservation. I believe the team is shooting for the July 15th Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. That said, I'm not on the design team. I'm just representing Landmark and processing this application. So they have been talking to us and working with us. However, I will say that this is a unique instance, as this is a new infill project, but it is a civic community building. So it doesn't necessarily always meet our requirements for residential structures. That said, it is still going through our process and is still being looked at. I was informed, and they have until the 24th to submit a complete application to be on the July 15th meeting. So we haven't fully received the complete application yet, because they wanted to make some tweaks in relation to the RNO meeting they attended. But we are hopeful that there will be something we can recommend approval of for the July 15th meeting.
Thank you, Crystal. I see a couple internal conversations, but I don't think I see any more questions. But if I do, please raise your hand if I missed you, or if my team sees something, please jump in. We'll try to keep watching the chat. Let's see, Keith has a question posted. Oh, Keith. Let's see. Laura, I believe Karen has her hand up. Did you want people to, are we able to unmute, or do you want them to type in their question?
Yep, Karen works with our aquatics.
Oh, yes.
So
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
going to allow her to unmute really
okay,
fast.
thank you. Okay. Let's see if we can get Karen unmuted.
So I just wanted to touch base on the shade structures. So the current shade structures, we are working very, very hard on trying to make sure that we can get those out and then reuse them. So there hopefully will be additional shade besides just what the trees are. We understand that that's a big thing, and we're doing our best to try to make sure that that's incorporated.
Thank you, Karen. Lauren has a question, and maybe HDR can answer this. Can you give the depth of the pool gradients for both pools? I am at a pool out of town and redesigned a couple of years ago, and the community is very disappointed that the pool starts at 4 feet. It's way too deep for most kids. So yeah, James or Jericho, do you want to give the two pool depths and explain the gradient walk-in?
Sure. The lap pool, we tested a few depths, but I think collectively 3.5 feet, sort of the good number for both, adults and kids. There were also some worries about, less than 3.5 feet, just because of some lap swimmer when they do a flip turn. That's almost 3.5 feet. It seems to be the good number. For the leisure pool, you have the zero depth, so that young kids can just slowly walk into the pool, especially where the water geysers are. And then it's deep enough. I forgot the exact number, but someone, they can play around with. There's some basketball hoops around. I think there were 2 or 3 included in there that they can float around and at the same time stand up while they're playing.
Thank you, Jericho.
Mhm.
And then, Laura, do you see Eileen's hand raised?
Yes. Are you ready to take some questions aloud, or were there any others to ask?
I mean, I have one here. I've never heard of the LPC guidelines only applies to residents. Why is PNR getting a pass? So I'm not sure on that, or if someone can answer that question from the group.
Might be, and Crystal, I'm gonna just allow her just in case that is in her zone.
Hi, so the LPC guidelines do apply to Parks and Rec. They're not getting a pass. What I was commenting on is that our guidelines don't have a lot of guidance specifically for civic buildings. There's really 1 or 2 intent statements within the design guidelines that apply specifically that would work for civic buildings, but there aren't as many guidelines that would apply in this case. But there's still the general guidelines, and we still will be looking at it in that fashion, and it is still going through the phase 1 and phase 2 process. So when this application comes in, we will be looking at mass form and context for this original proposal, and then design details. Obviously for phase 2, if it gets approved, we'll be looking at the colors, windows, detailing. But I just want to make it clear that there's not a lot of guidance around civic buildings that are in a park. They are different from commercial and residential structures.
And Crystal, before you mute, is there an opportunity for public comment on this topic, or is this the place to do it?
Absolutely. You can send public comment to me or to landmark@denvergov.org. Like I said, we don't have a final application yet to review. We haven't received our final application. Like I said, we have until the 24th to get that application to be on the July 15th meeting. The application, once it does get posted to the website, is typically 1 week before whatever commission meeting it's going to be on. So if they do make the July 15th deadline, that it would get posted to the website on July 8th. And then everyone is welcome to look at that application and make public comment. You can email public comment. You can also attend the July 15th Landmark Preservation Commission meeting and make comment to the commission. We typically take all public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and it's at 1 p.m. on July 15th.
Crystal, would you be able to put some of that info into the chat for people of how they can do that, what the email was and the date?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I just want to be respectful of everyone's time, and this meeting ends at 6:30. So we have a little less than 15 minutes. And I know Eileen has had her hand up. So Laura, if you don't mind, we can grab her question. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you. My comment is again related to the physical design shape of the building, which is no way complimentary or respectful of the guidelines within the Curtis Park Landmark District. We do have examples, and I know you're trying to differentiate between civic buildings and commercial buildings, but I just think that is, personally, I think it's a smokescreen. If that were the case, the Blair Caldwell Library would not have been built with features that honor the historic characteristic of physical buildings within our neighborhoods. And granted, it could be on the other, a block over or something. It's still the idea. So to say that it doesn't apply to civic buildings, I don't buy that. We have had new, very new, including one in process of being built now, just a few blocks away at the corner of Downing Street, which will, yes, it's a medical building. It's has been designed to fit within a modern interpretation, fitting into the period of significance. And I am really, while I appreciate this building might look nice in Crestmore Park, this is not modern. This is, it just as actually as Keith had mentioned, it reads Southwest. It means mid-century modern. There's a little craftsman in there. There is absolutely no relationship at all to the forms found in this district. And it's not even a modern take on it. And I really, I put in the comment like the emperor has no clothes. We're being told that it's being honored and it's an interpretation, but it is not. I'm sorry. I beg to differ. This might be really nice in Crestmore Park. We're not Crestmore Park. It's totally inappropriate. It could be changed, and it could be a beautiful building that has the right scale and height, in massing appropriate for the building, but its current configuration is so far off. It's disrespectful, and I urge you all, including Parks and Rec Landmark Design, to not give this a pass because of a perceived threat of we have a timeline to do, and gee, we've got a budget and a timeline. All these organizations have known far in advance that we have strong landmark guidelines as far as building form, design, materials even. And I'll even speak to like the Southwest motif. It doesn't matter what the mural was. We're not in the Southwest. Our neighborhood, to incorporate these Southwest motif designs within the brick or CM.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
comments.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I just want to make sure I get to everyone, so I'm definitely not cutting you off.
Okay, no, that's quite a
we have revised some of the brickwork, and the patterning has not been totally decided on yet. So we're working on the arched windows. I believe that the R&O group suggested. And I just want to make sure I get to Ashley. So if that's all right, I'm going to go to Ashley, but thank you.
Hi, yes, I think I'm unmuted. I completely agree with Eileen and many of the other Curtis Park people. I am not convinced by the timeline problem. Park and Rec has known that this project is in the historic landmark Curtis Park District for the entire year and a half or so that it has been dealing with this project. We have not been consulted, this neighborhood, until a week ago. This is a mid-century modern structure with southwestern motifs splashed all about. It does not comply with our landmark regulations. The roof line is terrible. The elongated shape, again, does not fit with any of our buildings in this neighborhood. It appears to be designed to be as cheap as possible to maintain, with zero consideration given to the neighborhood structures. A
Thank you so
building
much,
can
Ashley.
be modern leaning and still be in conformity with our historic neighborhood.
Thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple more hands up. And I believe these are some of the comments we heard last Monday at the R&O group, but I think it's good to hear those again. Keith, I believe you were next. So if we can unmute Keith, thank you.
Sorry, Keith, I accidentally hit mute again and then unmute. You should be good now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would just like to further reiterate Eileen's and Ashley's points. We do modern as civic buildings, as Eileen stated. The African American Research Library is a great example of that. So to sit there and say this is a pavilion, it's not a pavilion. It's actually supposed to be a civic building that celebrates the oldest first park in this city, which this building does not. We love modern, we embrace modern, we don't do mid-century modern. That is inappropriate because it has no relationship to the shapes and the forms that this neighborhood was built at. And so again, the slanted roof, the roof form coming out as the porch, that is inappropriate. We have modern roofs that still maintain the form of what our original porches look like. And in modern interpretation, that has been approved by Landmark multiple times.
Oh, Keith, you might have cut out. I'm so sorry. Maybe he's on his cell phone. I do not hear him. Does anybody else hear Keith?
Into this.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you are, Keith. You're back.
Okay, so I don't know where I left off, but the only concept that the design team incorporated was our windows. They did not address the roof. They did not address the porch. We have modern porches that have been approved by the Landmark Commission that does work as a modern interpretation of our historic features and forms, such as porches. And so the design team needs to do a lot more before we will accept this as a viable design. And so I don't think they're going to be able to make the July application because we will do a full-on press as a neighborhood to the Landmark Commission with our letter writing, as well as hack the meeting to basically say that this is inappropriate. Civic buildings, pavilions still have to meet the guidelines. Modern does exist in Curtis Park, and we've very much embraced this. And this is not modern. This is Southwestern. This is Craftsman. And this is mid-century modern, all which are not found in the district and inappropriate. So we would like to work continually with the design team to bring this into line because it's not hard with the existing form to keep it low scale and appropriate for a civic building. We are not asking for a house. We're asking for something to be celebrated, given that this is the first park in the city and as such deserves great design, which this one does not meet any of those criteria. So we look forward to, again, holding off, keeping the timeline, but we do need the design team to work with us to get this approved by Landmark because it will be denied given the outturn that we will have, and that will further set them back in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. So we just have a few more moments. Sue, if I can give you like a minute, and then we're just gonna do our closure.
Yes.
Hi.
And can you hear me?
We can hear you, Sue.
All right.
Thank you.
So we know how to make apply traditional objects in features and character defining features to a civic building and to a commercial building. We have pictures that we can show you that shows exactly how you can do it without blowing your budget. We know it can be done, and it just takes a little thoughtfulness on design. You do not have to change the interior. There are elements that you can add that will definitely pull this building into Curtis Park. And I believe that it can be done, and I don't think it's hard, and we know what to do. We have pictures. We can sit down and show you pictures of things that you can use to make this look like Curtis Park, if you're interested in really listening.
Yes, no, Sue, thank you so much. And you know what? I did find that glazed block and I did find a couple reds. So I'm just letting you know.
We want to see that on a
Yeah.
on
And we
the
will in
board.
the phase 2 application of landmark. At this point, we're not picking colors, but we are starting to, try to incorporate some of the thoughts we heard from the RNO group last week, but we are not there yet with design or application. So
We want to see the tiles on a board when you get to it,
yeah,
not just
thank
a
you.
single tile.
Yes, thank you.
You're still not talking about wanting to incorporate features of Curtis Park into your building. You're very
Sure.
stubborn.
Yeah, we're working on the 2-to-1 ratio of the windows, and Jericho, I think we only have like one more minute, but if HDR wants to talk about any of those elements that they're working on, they're free to do that. But I know we only have 1 minute left, so
It's more than windows. It's more than windows, and you can do things without putting windows in.
Yeah.
We know.
Laura, let me know, did you want to close out the meeting or did you want to have HDR respond? Do we have time for HDR to respond to some of the designs that we're working on?
If HDR has any short last comments, then they can also just pull up the next step slide, and I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. You're ready, SJ? And I'm going to put myself on mute while SJ closes us out.
And SJ, we did lose the slides, so we can just go ahead and close out if that's okay. I just went ahead and, oh, there you are.
All right. I should be all closed out. Let me know.
No, I just wanted to, if there's any closing statements you had, but I can just go ahead and do that for you.
Okay.
We
Thank
just
you,
will
Laura.
have the meeting recordings on the project webpage in the next few days, as well as the slides. We will have those up as well. And then we did post if you have comments to share with Landmark, and I will recopy that here. And I think we just want to think, oh, I cannot recopy that here. I apologize. But that if you want to scroll up, I will go ahead and close out this meeting. But I do want to thank you all for coming tonight and for letting us know your thoughts. And we will continue to be in touch. I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. But thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you.